We've got some amazing reporting to discuss today about a California prison, like sort of seemingly willingly with total knowledge, exposing their inmates to drinking water laced with arsenic for years. This reporting is coming via Truthout, and you should definitely go to Truthout to get all the details because it is all encompassing. But we want to give you at least some of the interesting and horrific bullet points about this. So understand that there is a certain standard that the EPA maintains for what is safe in terms of arsenic levels in water. It should be 0, but it's not. The water at this particular prison, this is the Kern Valley State Prison in Delano, had water that had twice as much arsenic as what is considered safe. And for literally years, inmates there were forced to drink it. So the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation had multiple alerts that this was going on. They, for a period of years, delayed remediation and did not provide any alternate sources of water, meaning that thousands of people had to consume this arsenic-laced water for at least 6 years. They were aware of it. The individual prison was aware of it. A year after this particular prison was built, the Department of Corrections filed a permit to build an arsenic treatment plant. So rather than find an alternate source of water, they decided, we'll get around to treating it eventually. Well, that was just delayed and delayed and delayed. And along the way, they would put out these posters in the prison to alert them that the water had these elevated arsenic levels. And in these warnings, they even admitted the damage that these elevated arsenic levels could do, like skin damage, circulatory system problems, or increasing your risk for certain types of cancer. But despite them knowing this and knowing the damage that could be done, the treatment plant just kept getting pushed back. And all along the way, they didn't provide alternate sources of water. Why? Probably because it's expensive, I would imagine. But if you're an inmate, it's not like you can just go to the store and buy more water to replace all of the water that you're consuming was. So this is just an absolutely insane thing that can only exist in a prison system, seemingly. It's the only place where you would be allowed to get away with it.
Yeah, you literally just took the thought right out of my brain. It's just another example of the way we do prisons in this country is completely inhumane and it's unconscionable. What we're doing across the board, okay? And I'm talking about from what people call your country club prison, which it's not. Mm-hmm. It's just, you might not have some of the conditions that you have in like one of these federal maximum security prisons. It's across the board. It's horrible. The idea that people are basically being forced to drink water that is poisoned, right? We're not talking about some luxury or some indulgence. No, this is water. This is the most basic, the most fundamental of needs. And again, not just that it's expensive, John. It's not just that the water would be expensive to replace. It's that they don't see these prisoners as humans, deserving of water that isn't contaminated. So it's like it's a twofold thing, and like the idea that people are so gung ho that we send people to prison, man. Look, I don't have the answers about an alternative when somebody does something completely abhorrent and criminal and terrible, what we should do with them. But I know what we're doing right now ain't the answer. It can't be the answer.
No, certainly not in this case. And I want to give you, before we close out, just a few examples of things that happened to prisoners who were here. We have Lamar Singleton says, as a result of being here, ended up losing 50 pounds in 90 days.
Jesus.
Got tumors in both kidneys. And again, with any individual, we don't know for sure how much of the blame or all of the blame we can place on one particular problem. But this is the experience that they had. John Williams arrived at this particular prison in August of 2009 and reported that he suffered retch, nausea, stomach cramps, pain, and headaches. Said the water sometimes came out of the tap brown. Other times it had a white powdery substance in it. It tasted weird, like it had salt or chemical residue. He filed multiple grievances, which, by the way, they were effectively required to because of a piece of legislation called the Prison Litigation Reform Act, passed back in 1996. you can't effectively as a prisoner immediately file for some sort of like investigation or restitution at the normal legal level without first going through the prison's so-called grievance systems, which are designed to be Byzantine and like to consume long periods of time. And that is the effect that we've actually had there. So the same prison that isn't on its own seemingly taking this seriously enough to do something about the fact that the water is contaminated with arsenic, you have to then trust that, well, if you only raise concerns to them, which by the way, they already know about this, that they will then take it seriously. Or if not, you just have to stay and wait and potentially be exposed to more of the contaminants. So it's a disgusting system, literally and figuratively.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.